Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about the flex sizing model. Now, when you have a flex box, in this case, we have a block here where the flex, the layout, the display is set to flex. The children's sizing is changing quite a bit compared to the block layout or any other layout. So normally, if you have a width, then there is no problem. But if you don't have a width, then it kind of shrinks. And this is in contrast with if you just use the block layout, and if you don't set a width, it's just going to be covering the entire thing. But as soon as you set the display to flex, it just kind of shrinks. So the reason that that happens is because if you any element directly under a flex parent is using the flex basis field for its width. And if you don't set the flex basis, by default, this is going to be auto. And auto means use the width either from the explicitly set width. If there's an explicitly set width, use that. Or if there isn't one, then take the contents width and use that. So that's basically what's happening here. In this case, because for this block, we didn't set any width, and we set the flex basis to auto, and so it's taking the width of the content and making it the width of the block. If we set a particular width, then it will use that, and so that's basically how the flex basis auto works. But if you want to be precise about what the dimensions should be, you can always set the flex basis directly. And as you can see, even though we have the width set here, flex basis takes precedence. That is, that's basically the core decision-making process for the flex sizing, flex basis. Now, the next step is in the decision-making process is the grow and shrink. So basis is basically the starting point for the sizing process. Grow and shrink also determine what the final size is going to be if there is any need for it. So and that's basically determined by the sum of the basis. So in this case, we look at the width, sum of the widths, and in this case we have let's set this to auto again, and all of them are like 100 pixels wide, and so overall this is going to be 500 pixels, but we have more space to go in the flex container, in the flex parent. So in that case, we can actually say, we want this to grow. By default, the grow is 0. So when you set it to default, it's 0. It means it won't grow. It's going to be stuck with the basis. But if you set it to 1, all of a sudden it just grows a lot. So what's happening here? Basically, what happens is, after the total width is calculated over here, 500, the Flexbox looks at the total width and says, okay, well, there's more space to go. Are there any children here that are willing to grow? And so in this case, we had only set this one to grow, and so that's why it took up the entirety of the available space. And let's say we want to have 2 of them grow. So if we say both of them to 1, in that case, what happens is they take up the remaining space in equal amounts. Or if I say I want this to take up 2/3 of the space, while this one's going to be taking 1/3 of the space, then I would set the grow factor to 1 and this one's grow factor to 2. And as you can see, that's how you can actually do layouts. So that's a very common way of doing layouts. You can set the the initial width to some small amount, and then you can set the grow factor, and that will be preserved by the Flexbox. Now, the on the opposite side, there is shrink. So shrink works very much the same way, but let's say our flex basis is quite large. This one is also quite large. So now we actually don't fit, as you could see that a little bit. So initially it was going like this. You see, I'm just reaching the end. So now it doesn't grow anymore. It's growing a little bit less than what I have. And the reason that's happening is because it's actually shrinking. It's taking the total overflow, and then it's trying to distribute it evenly among all the children by a shrinkage factor. And shrink by default, grow by default is 0, but shrink by default is 1. So that means all of them are going to be shrinking at the same factor. And so that's why I can increase this, and they're all shrinking at about the same factor. But because their basis is much higher, and in this case, this one had a grow, or yeah, in this case, it had a much higher basis. Even though their factors are the same, one of them is shrinking more than the other because the total amount is still going to be more. All right, that's about it. So one thing to note here, the flex grow and shrink can be quite complicated. So I would recommend this Kevin Powell Flexbox is more complicated than you thought video. It explains it very, very well as to how the grow and shrink works. And yeah, you can enter these values just like this in WebDigital quite easily. Thank you very much.